Oh yeah, sexy biscuits. Nice.
Long boys blues, 1975. A YouTuber is on the rise. Reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends. But Long boys blues, 1975.
Hey YouTube, Longboys Post 1975, and welcome to a pickup video and or nostalgic memories of video combined, because in this video I want to talk about 3 DVDs I've recently picked up. If you follow me on Facebook, you will see them going back a month or so, maybe 6 weeks or so, but I didn't want to talk about them in a video or show them as a kind of pickup video until I got all 3 of them, because they're all import DVDs. None of these DVDs are available in this country, and that's an absolute shame, because certainly one of them was an absolute staple of my generation's Sunday morning kids TV cartoons. The other 2, well, one of them is very specifically a bigger deal in American TV circles, but what with the Snyder Cut, there's kind of a relevance to it, because this was kind of like a big deal, somewhat like that, and it's comic book related way back then. I say back then, we're talking late 90s. And the other one is, quite frankly, a shame that it's not just never released in this country, but never aired. Maybe it was, maybe it showed up on a cable channel somewhere. It didn't show up, certainly didn't show up on Sky, and we had Sky from 1989, so none of the kids channels, main channels, Sky One, stuff like that, ever aired it. But I have seen a couple of episodes, and I do have nostalgia for it, not just because, well, you've seen what the DVDs are, they're in the thumbnail, not just because it's Back to the Future. Anyway, I only like to do pickup videos if I have something to say about the things that I've picked up, an emotional attachment, a lot of nostalgia, and also the fact that there's been, well, the charity shops only opened up again literally last week, hasn't helped much with me purchasing stuff, because I don't know, I mean, I guess you could argue, I'm on a tangent already, I guess you could argue the systems that I do overviews are obviously pickups, but getting stuff off Amazon to me doesn't really feel like a pickup. I don't know why. I attach buying stuff in the wild to pick up videos. But anyway, I'm just trying to justify the gap of me doing one. Anyway, right, I don't know why. I think it popped up in suggested items, by accident on Amazon. And I'm not sure why. I must have bought some other DVD or something that kind of said, like, this popped up. And the minute it popped up, I just went, holy shit, I remember that show. That show was amazing. I know a little bit more about it now, thanks to Toy Galaxy. But yes, who else remembers Jace and the Wheeled Warriors? This is a Region 1 import. It's awful box art. Now, if you expect any of the information of this to be like an incredibly accurate breakdown of the characters, the story, the names of certain individuals, vehicles, stuff like that, that's across all these DVDs, then I didn't want to approach it like that. I didn't want to do any research. I just want to, because some of these shows, this I haven't seen in 30 plus years. I deliberately put off seeing this until all these arrived, so I could just cane all of them in their absolute wonderful glory. So I haven't, with the exception of a Toy Galaxy video on it, because there are toys of that. Were toys of this, I should say, that we never got in this country, because we got shafted on quite a lot of toys in this country. We never had a plastic Death Star. We had a cardboard one for Star Wars. Arguably, though, people would say it's the better one. We never got Shockwave with Transformers. We never got Blaster. But they were toy lines that were out here. This was a toy line that wasn't out at all. Anyway, so basically, this was shown Saturday morning and Sunday mornings. We had, way back then in the mid to late 80s, possibly 86, 87-ish, around about then, Whack-A-Day or Wide Awake Club. And Sunday version was kind of a more run-down version, like shorter, less interaction as such with, the hosts, less big stars and stuff like that. There was that event where they blindfolded kids and made them eat stuff and they had to guess what it was. Like, you could make that now. But one of the cartoons they showed, I'm pretty sure it's Wackaday. I may be like combining nostalgic memories with another channel, so by all means correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't think of anything else that would have screened it. But they screened Jason the Wheeled Warriors. It was sadly only one season. It was based on a toy line that we never got in here, and you know, combat vehicles. Half of them were monster binds, which were basically plant combat vehicles, even though they look like metal, but some parts of them would be organic and plant-like. And then you had the Lightning League that were the good guys, and yeah, there were little cars like that, and you could swap weapons and stuff. Again, this is thanks to Toy Galaxy. And little figures that had nothing to do with the cartoon. It was cancelled after one season, but apparently, and the toys were too, but there was going to be a second range of toys. They were going to actually make the characters from the show. But all I remember was Sunday morning, this was another reason to get up, because there was nothing like this. Look it up, I would put it in this video, but I'll get spanked for copyright, even though everyone else out there apparently can do such things. Look up the theme tune. It's easily the best theme tune. Forget Turtles. Seriously, look it up. You're welcome. Forget Turtles. This has the best cartoon intro theme tune ever. I mean, seriously. But basically, you got Jace, and you got his dad, who's working on creating some sort of plan. I believe it's to end, again, I haven't seen this in 30 plus years, to end world hunger. Their world hunger. This is in the future and or the past, in galaxies far, far away stuff type situation. Only it spirals out of control, and he creates this creature called, creates these races called monster vines, and Sawboss, who is their leader, and they want to take over absolutely everything, and they can morph into, plants. Plants can morph into cars, I should say. And it's got, you know, your standard cast representing each type of person. You've got the young, hot-headed warrior. You've got the basic Han Solo character. You've got Jace's, like, kind of comedic relief and all buddy. Think like, you know, the little robot in Ulysses 31 type thing. Then you've got the Gandalf type wizard who can do magic, and you've got the girl who's actually a plant and can communicate with all plants. So Jace's dad has one half of the root, and he's got the other half. It's basically a ring, and if they unite them all, they'll destroy the monster vines and, you know, free the galaxy, and all goodness and will ensue. I'm not doing it justice, because like I said, I haven't seen it in absolute years, but oh my god, it's utterly fantastic. And each episode was standalone, but also a story arc. Some of them were like really tense, and you really felt like for the characters, like there was a genuine sense of threat. But it was an ensemble cast of, you know, animated characters. That's Sawboss. That's the worst picture of him you'll ever see ever, but it was just a fact. And obviously they repeated. It was really good animation for the time. You know, and yeah, it had kind of an anime style artwork, but yeah, it was just brilliant. It was just, think Mad Max with plant-based cars and flying through the galaxy in a spaceship that's shaped like a boat, and its sails are solar panels. Fantastic, really good. And I just, yeah, some of the episodes are on YouTube, some, not all. I wouldn't know, I have deliberately not watched it, but this was Sunday morning viewing fantasticness when I was a kid, and we used to talk about it at school. And we honestly never knew there were toys. Like, I only found out there were toys like probably maybe 5 years ago. And that wasn't even thanks to Toy Galaxy. That was just, I think someone on a website had scanned images of it, and I was just like, wait, there were toys of Jace and the Wheeled Warriors. Now, obviously the little characters for the vehicles were tiny. I don't know if they went in them. But, so what would they have done with the second wave if there was, you know, the show had continued and warranted the success, but ultimately the toy line being cancelled was probably what got the show cancelled. I don't know. I know very little about the show, other than I absolutely freaking loved it. But yeah, the minute I found out that this, and I'm quite surprised. I understand that maybe because they thought the toy line never made it to the UK, then who is going to buy this? But then you could argue, since the toy line wasn't successful in North America, they still released this. But ignoring that, anyone with a brain in the production company of the DVD, or licensed the show out to whoever wanted to make the DVD, would know, surely, that Jason the Wheeled Warriors had a massive, not so much cult, probably a little bit bigger than that, following in the UK, thanks to Sunday morning kids TV. So yeah, the minute I saw this, I had to get it. I absolutely had to get it. I really wish they did something better with the box art. It doesn't do justice to the amazing art style of the actual show. But yeah, what is it, 22 to 25 standard show length. Again, it's region 1. You will need a obviously multi-region DVD player, but let's be honest, everybody's got one of those. It's 4 discs. The one thing I don't like about this is I don't like discs sitting on top of other discs. I know you want to make it cheap so you can fit it in a little one like that, but no, hang on. This is a bad example, but do that for me, please. I mean, I know the greenies won't like the overkiller packaging and stuff like that, but fuck them. It'll look better on my shelf, and it'll treat the disc with the respect, love, and attention they deserve. So yeah, look it up. There are a ton of YouTube videos out there explaining what the show is about. If you want to see if it's for you, it really is. I think this cost me $17.95 for a private seller on Amazon, which is why I had to wait a while to get it. But yeah, just the memories of getting up on a Sunday morning. I mean, we used to get up on a Saturday morning, but we basically knew that Sunday morning Wide Awake Club or Sunday morning kids TV's shows had less cartoons and generally were a bit pants. But this, yeah, this, everyone, if you're my age, work it out, it's in my channel name, then you'll remember this on a Sunday. And personally, I think this was A-list material and should have been on a Saturday, but this is, yeah, it's like I completely forgot about it, and then it came back, and then I just went, holy shit, I gotta get all over that. And I really think if they release this, you know, in this country, Gen Xers would be all over this, and they would have a hit on their hands. Anyway, moving on to the next DVD. Yeah, Back to the Future. Obviously, it's a no-brainer. I had to buy this. You would have thought it was a no-brainer. I bought this long before now, but I've always looked for private sellers, and it always seemed to be like out of stock or not for sale or stuff like that. I've never seen it in import stores. I've never seen it secondhand. I've never seen it in cash converters because they all get region 1 discs. And I've never ever seen more than 2 episodes. Why do I have a massive amount of nostalgia for it? We'll get to that. Back to the Future, the complete animated series. It's an import again. This cost me, I believe, about £22, which is a small price to pay if you're a massive Back to the Future fan like me. Plus also, I know it's a cartoon, I know it's aimed at kids, but there is live action bits in it. But ultimately, it's new Back to the Future material I've never seen before, with the exception of 2 episodes that I get to cane. It was Ultra Maximus who pointed this out, wasn't it? He's a toy channel. He's in my channel list. Check him out. That's the jacket that he wore in Teen Wolf, and there was a Teen Wolf cartoon which he did get in this country. So why this never showed up again? Maybe it did, and maybe I was, you know, looking in the wrong places, or maybe I should get a white stick. But yeah, there was a Teen Wolf cartoon, and I quite like that, and I believe Michael J. Fox voiced the character. But this, yeah, it continues their adventures. Obviously, it's a family now, so you've got Doc and her kids, you've got Michael J. Fox, or Marty, I should say, sorry, and you've got Einstein. And obviously, it's back to the DeLorean, which, doesn't it turn into a suitcase for convenient carrying? This is 3 discs. I'll just show you that. It's kind of got a goofy art style, somewhat reminiscent of the Bill and Ted's cartoon, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, which I've never seen any of, and that's really expensive to buy. But I don't have any nostalgia for that because I've never seen any of it, but it may be on my radar. But yeah, this I don't understand why. I mean, Back to the Future was a huge hit, absolutely everywhere. We had, I mean, some going a little bit later. This is 1991, I believe. This was 1987, I guess. Yeah. Obviously, it was a huge hit in every country it was ever released, and so a year or so after the show, you know, the movie, you know, the trilogy ended, Back to the Future 3, the movie, you know, rounded it up. Surely there would have been a market for this. Kids loved it, absolutely loved it. Or maybe they wanted too much money for it. Or maybe, you know, your satellite and your cable companies and terrestrial companies didn't think anyone would be interested in it, in which case they were fucking idiots. But yeah, so it never showed up. I knew of it because of adverts for it. In all the American comics I used to collect from Marvel, you know, Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, SpiderMan, you know, the Tom McFarlane one, that ties into the next DVD. I knew of it when you used to get the adverts for certain TV channels. Was this ABC or something? I don't know. And they would advertise what kids' cartoons they would have, you know, on Saturday mornings and stuff like that. And I would love those bits, those adverts. They was much part of the comic for me as the actual sort of story of, you know, Spider-Man and shit. I loved it. It was like a looking glass, you know, into a an alternative version of your country, if you know what I mean. Think about it, you know, with all, you know, because everything in America was bigger, better than what we had in this country. More channels, you know, like a lot more channels, you know, flashier movies, flashier kids shows and stuff like that. If you compared it to stuff like we were having at the time, like, you know, I guess the Chuckle Brothers and stuff like that. Although we did get a lot of excellent, amazing cartoons which they got as well, such as Ulysses 31, Mysterious Cities of Gold, 80 Days Around the World, and D'Artagnan and Three Muskehounds. I have nostalgia for that. I didn't even think to see if you could buy that on DVD. This could start getting expensive. This could be a whole other collection. DVDs from my childhood shows. DVD childhood shows from my childhood. That got away from me. But you know what I mean. So yeah, I became aware of it through those adverts. But we were on holiday in 1991 in America, in Boston, because my dad's brother emigrated in the 60s, and they fell out of touch, and they kind of got back together, reunited, and we went there for a massive, amazing 3-week holiday. Saw Terminator 2 and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey over there. Great times. Introduced me to the concept of pay-per-view. Never even heard of such a concept. We just sat there watching a pay-per-view channel, watching adverts going back and again and forth for stuff that you could order and stuff like that, and going to little rental stores. But we saw one episode. I'm sure, maybe it was 92 then. I'm not sure. Maybe it was 92 because we went there in 91 and 92. Again, it's, you know, these memories all blur into one fantastic pot of nostalgia goodness. But I remember we watched one episode of it, and I quite liked it. Because it was Back to the Future, and I just thought the whole concept of a cartoon. I thought, you know, the voice acting was great. Didn't think the animation was amazing. The art style a bit kooky, but it was a kids' cartoon. But it had the DeLorean in it, and you know, and time travel. But what really sold it for me was that Christopher Lloyd reprised his actual role as Doc Brown, and would have bits in it that was somewhat educational, because you always had to have an educational element to your cartoons, didn't you, in America? Was that thanks to Nancy Reagan or something? Otherwise they were considered a toy advert, which obviously wasn't true of this, you know, hence G.I. Joe and that knowledge, because knowing is half the battle and stuff like that. But yeah, so you had Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown doing stuff, you know, and to me that was something that was mind-blowing, because then it really did, even if it was a kid's cartoon, and obviously in 1991 I was, what, 14, 15, so it was probably aimed at an audience younger than me, but it had this direct connection to the actual movies, because it had live action, and it kind of made it feel somewhat canon. So I only ever saw one episode, bit gutted when I came back to the UK, pre-internet, couldn't download it, couldn't buy it, kind of. That was the last I ever saw of it, and completely forgot about it for years, until Tinterweb days. And even then, YouTube wouldn't have like it is now, when people were blatantly, you know, ignore copyright. Doesn't it bother you? It's me personally, as a child creator, when I have to be so careful with copyright material, stuff like gameplays, and talk over it to make sure that it's transformative. And then someone comes along, uploads someone else's work, doesn't flip the image, doesn't speed it up, doesn't slow it down, doesn't do that weird white light thing for it, slaps a fucking advert on it, and makes money. That ain't fair, YouTube. That ain't fair. Anyway, so you couldn't see it on the internet. Sorry, tangent is the point I'm saying. But it was, I think it was the 30th anniversary Back to the Future DVD collection where I got to see another episode. At that point it was probably on YouTube, but I kind of almost completely forgot about it, apart from snags here and there and people talking about it, and going through my old comic collection, which I still have, and seeing adverts for the show in the pages and stuff like that. But there was a whole episode, it might have been 2 episodes, I'm not sure, I haven't watched that. Every time a new version of Back to the Future comes out, obvious reasons, it's me, I will buy that DVD on Blu-ray, that collection on Blu-ray. I bought the last one on 4K because I actually have a 4K player. I don't have any other 4K movies, don't really give a fuck about them, but have to have Back to the Future. But yeah, the 30th anniversary one has 2, on the special features, 2 episodes, maybe 1 episode, maybe 2, and it also has the footage from the Back to the Future ride, which I'd never ever seen before. My parents went on it a few years later when they went to America without us, because apparently we cramped their style. Although 3 weeks by yourself, you know, as a kid, 16 at that point, pretty awesome, not gonna lie. But yeah, so they'd seen it and they said it was absolutely fantastic, and obviously it doesn't exist anymore. And a little part of me forever will be upset that I never got to experience that majestic glory of what's quite possibly considered the greatest theme park ride of all time. But yeah, that's all on there. But I finally got to, after years and years and years and years, see it, and it tweaked my curiosity. I think I may have had a look at the time and just thought, why can't I buy this in this country? Clearly, putting it on this DVD, you know, obviously it's the same print in each and every country. But clearly, there's a market for it. So again, why isn't this available? People who make this, if you're watching this, which obviously I'm an equal YouTuber, so you probably aren't, but this would sell. This is a license to print much money. Anyway, so I saw that, you know, like the nostalgia aside from seeing it, you know, in America and then having the attachments to it for the comics. Yeah, seeing it on that, you know, anniversary edition of Back to the Future trilogy tweaked my curiosity again. So I don't think I had Prime then. I don't think Prime was even a thing then, but I do remember looking for it. Were even private sellers on Amazon in 2015? It seems so long ago now. Yet it's the future. See what I did there. But I remember seeing it on there and it was unavailable, or maybe one was about 45 quid. I don't know. And I think I may have seen, was it a Sega CD Universe video? Was it him talking about it? Or showing it? Or, sorry if you're watching this, dude. Or have I nostalgia memoried that into something else's, or someone else's video? I don't know. But, so, yeah, a while ago, I was just, you know, trawling through it, and because it popped back in there, it leaves sometimes, hence me taking so long to get these things, especially since it's Back to the Future, popped back in there, and I went on Amazon, and they had it for like 22 quid or something, I think is what I said I paid for it. But it's got bonus features. I'm not going to tell you what they are because I haven't watched them yet. And so yeah, like I said, I wanted to save this for a big fat nostalgic marathon, probably a day when I got some, entire day when I got some holiday. Now this one came yesterday and this one's still sealed, and that would be Spawn, the animated collection, all 3 seasons of Spawn. This was HBO. This is what I mean about, you know, think about Snyder Cut. This was like a adult cartoon of a comic book, but it was arguably adult anyway. That was unlike anything else ever seen before. A few of the Image comics, because obviously a bunch of Marvel creators, artists, writers, stuff like that, you know, Eric Larson, Tom McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, He Who Cannot Draw Feet, All Guns with Triggers, Jim Valentino, Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, a whole bunch of them, but you know the ones. They left Marvel because of the terms that, you know, they wanted to be able to own their work, and it was 1992. What a fucking mind-blowing moment that was. There's an amazing documentary about the birth of Image on Amazon Prime. You should watch it. And so Tom McFarlane left SpiderMan and started a comic based on a character he created years ago that he was held back because he didn't want Marvel to nick his one thing. Spawn, a man who dies, comes back to Earth 5 years after his death. His wife is married spoilers, to someone else. He's burnt as a crisp. He's the servant or puppet of the devil, with limited powers. And yeah, and I remember when it came out in '92. I still have like the first 200 issues of Spawn, and absolutely loved it. This case is broken, Amazon. This case is broken. Massive fail right there. That's kind of put a damper on this. I'm all upset now. I'm not going to send it back because I need to watch it. But yeah, so obviously I love Spawn. I kind of thought it went downhill immediately after spoilers, went to hell in issue 50 and came back out. And also I always wanted to be drawn by Tom McFarlane all through its entire run. But I've got to be honest though, I did like it when Greg Capullo drew it and Tom McFarlane inked it. But I fucking love Spawn, absolutely love Spawn. And I remember in the pages of the comic they were talking about that there was going to be and obviously that was premium cable, wasn't it? HBO. It wasn't like you'd get it on normal TV, and I think it was probably expensive. But Tom McFarlane would devote a few pages here and there each month or so talking about how this show was coming to HBO, and it was going to be really dark, really adult-based, amazing animation, amazing voice actor, pretty accurate. All the characters are in there, stuff like that. You even had Overkill in there. And yeah, I was blown away, but I was also incredibly pissed off that we would never get to see it in this country. And also, around about this time, some other shows started coming over. You had MTV, thanks to the success of Aeon Flux, make a series of Sam Keith's The Max, which was a mind-blowingly fucked up, you know, trippy comic, as was the, I have it on VHS somewhere still, but that did get a release in this country. I bought it in Forbidden Planet. Look over there, Dave, that's where the camera is, that's your viewfinder. I love that. I should see if that's on DVD, but this video isn't about that. But that was an amazing show. They taped it off MTV first, and then bought the actual VHS of it. But so there was a market. They knew there was a market for these more sort of adult themed comics. You know, that Image were putting out, and not just like kids cartoon sort of stuff we've seen with SpiderMan and things like that, if you know what I mean. Although the SpiderMan animated TV show of the early 90s, mid 90s was fucking fantastic. I mean, come on. So yeah, and I was really pissed off and really gutted. It eventually did get a release in this country in 2 versions on DVD, not VHS as far as I can tell. One was a PG-13. No, that's what this is, a PG version that was heavily edited because there was swearing, there was shagging, there were brains popping, firing, blowing people's hands off and stuff, like crushing bones, snapping and shit like that. It was a violent cartoon. So the other one was a 15. But even that was edited as well, and it had really shit fucking, like, someone just, I don't know, went to Google clip art and pulled a picture of Spawn off and just put volume 1 on the DVD. So I never bought them, because here's where the nostalgia comes in for me, because I used to go on holiday a lot to Canada in the mid 90s to the very early 2000s. Then obviously in like 2003 I moved there. So for my job, so I bought specifically a 6-head sharp NTSC compatible video recorder, and I had a TV that could do 60 hertz or whatever because it was RGB. But it was an NTSC compatible video recorder you needed, and I had it, and I still have it. It's amazing. I take such good care of it, so I can watch those amongst other things. We'll get to that. Videos, because you got to remember, we used to go abroad to buy DVDs in this country, because sometimes movies in this country would be in the cinema and DVD would be out in North America. But you could do that with, you know, VHSs at some point, you know, in the mid to late 90s. And also it would give you a chance to buy shows like this that never made it across the pond, even though Spawn was huge in this country. Spawn was huge in this country. Sorry, I like saying it like that. In this country. So yeah, I do remember that the first time I found out I was going over there, you know, saved up a whole bunch of money so I could live like a king for those. My first holiday was 3 weeks in my mate Jeff's house, who emigrated from this country over there. And yeah, he used to let me stay at his house free, just chip in for the groceries and petrol and shit like that. Sorry, gas, because of when in Rome. But I remember, I think it was it HMV or something? I remember going there and seeing it. There were 3 volumes, and I bought one each year, or the first year and subsequent 2 following years when it was released, and bought them back. Now, one is actually in I put it in the other day before I ordered this, and then stopped deliberately so I could watch this, you know, but it's still in there. So I just have, these are the genuine ones from the 90s. Spawn Volume 2. Seriously, North America, what was the deal with your fucking cardboard sleeves? That's not what I want. Sorry, Windy Pops. My VHS tapes in, but yeah, look, it's got the R-rated certificate, so you can tell this is not, well, it was never released in England, was it? Still got, I used to keep the cellophane on it and tape it inside so it would protect the cover. That's how anal I was about these things. It's got a lenticular frame. I can't remember what it says, something edition, but yeah, so I got all 3 still. I'm still going to keep these, but this is how I've been watching these for years, because these are fully uncut, even though you don't get, you know, all the privileges of DVD and stuff like that, although there is a certain warmth and charm to watching VHSs. But I think they've still got, look, there you go, business reply mail for Wizard. They still got all the inserts, look at that. And then you got the Spawn ones, and I think you can see that some of them there are like PG-13 ones. And the Spawn movie figure, which I still have about 30 odd Spawn figures, because McFarlane figures at the time were something else. So yeah, I have a massive amount of nostalgia for it, and I have seen this in its entirety, and you know, in the late 90s. So I've seen it far more recently than Jason the World Warriors. So I know the story. I know the story to some degree because, you know, of the cartoon, and it is very accurate, but not completely accurate. But yeah, I love these. Like I said, there was a whole thing about just remembering all the cartoons that were coming out at the time that were more adult based and aimed at and based on, you know, these shows, more so from Image Comics. But yeah, so then I thought, fuck it, I've got to have this. Honestly, it was, and as you would expect with HBO, because bigger budgets and stuff like that. Was it Keith David? I don't know. who did the voice acting for Spawn, but it's phenomenal. There's bonus features as well there. Maybe I'll do a review of it at some point. It's going to lose points for that, although to be fair, that might be the private seller on Amazon who's going to lose points for that, because I haven't got it in this room. But I hate it when people think it's acceptable just to send something like this in a bubble mailer or a jiffy bag. Seriously, that's fucking pathetic. And you people get upset when I leave you shit reviews. That's on you for your crap mailing standards. But yeah, so this video's been a bit all over the place, but I love Spawn. Fucking Todd McFarlane's still my favourite artist of all time. I have a complete run of the amazing Spider-Man that he was on, including, you know, his first issue, his last issue, the first appearance of Venom and stuff like that. So yeah, I just, you know, I love Spawn. I don't read it anymore because I feel it's kind of lost the plot. Then I started reading his other thing, Curse, but that's crap. I'm very specific with my comic book purchases these days. But this video's got away from me, and it's macky long, isn't it, already? But yeah, pickups, DVD pickups of shows I have a massive amount of nostalgia for. Some I've only ever seen a couple of episodes. Some I've seen them in their entirety, but can hardly remember them because they were 30 plus years ago. And some are a little bit more recent than that, and certainly a lot more edgier, adult based, and we're basically at different ends of the spectrum when it comes to cartoons, because they're essentially cartoons, or animated shows as we like to say, or they like to say about this. But yeah, I don't know why it took me so long to pick these things up. I feel like picking up these sort of shows and DVDs could start to get very expensive. I doubt anyone's interested in this video as much as me. It was kind of a cleansing experience to talk about it. But yeah, so I picked these up and I'm super happy, and I am going to cane the shit out of them. Cannot wait, because that's what I said about pickup videos and stuff and wanting to share these things, is I can't do them unless I have an attachment to what is in them, and I certainly do to these. And maybe also somewhat of the attachment is not just nostalgia, but the fact that, you know, it was a holiday in a foreign country. It was something completely different. I was in an alien country, an alien environment, you know, and, you know, different shops, different stores, different money, different products that weren't available. So there certainly is, you know, that it also is like an attachment I have to these shows. I'll shut up now. I've bored you to bloody tears. Anyway, as always, I'd love to know what you think about each and every one of these shows, specifically if you're of my age, you know, Generation X, and also if you are from, you know, the United Kingdom, excuse me, and you have an attachment to these two shows as well. Anyway, as always, thank you very much for watching all the way to the end. I'll see you later.